All right, so Luke and I are about to do a tune-up process. So for our technicians, this is going to be our standard tune-up process. And for our homeowners, this is what you can expect when an Everest Air technician comes out for a basic summer maintenance at your house. We run these all spring, most of the summer, and even through the fall here in Arizona. It's September 20th. We're still at 100 degrees this week. So these tune-ups are basically year-round, and then for the small portion that we do heating, we also run heating tune-ups. So you'll notice the temperature probes are in the supply duct, and Luke just tossed his into the return duct, and he's standing to test the thermostat operation now.
So first thing we're going to want to do when we come to your house is have you guide us to your thermostat, and usually your filter is going to be right above or right nearby. We're going to drop the temperature down abnormally low, below your typical comfort levels, because we want it running while we're working on the system. We're going to take the temperature splits. I use these wireless probes that give me a live readout of the temperature differences. So currently the system is operating within optimum ranges. The air going into the system is 75 degrees. The air coming out is 52.5 degrees. So we've got a good temperature drop. Another thing we're going to do is check your filters. We're going to know how often you replace your filters. And for example, this filter is one that is long overdue for a change. Failing to change your filters is going to be one of the biggest things that you can do to harm your system. And having us come check it is a good check for you to remind you of the importance of changing those filters. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out, because it's better to not have a filter in for a day than to leave this one in.
All right, and while Luke's doing that, note, especially for our technicians, the reason we're checking temperature splits right at the beginning is twofold. First off, we come in and look at the thermostat, make sure it's reading properly, make sure the buttons work, make sure the temperature readout seems reasonable. And then we're checking the filter cleanliness and the temperature splits, because at this point, if there is a problem and that temperature split isn't where we want it to be, we'll know that as we're doing the tune-up, we're probably looking for a refrigerant or an airflow problem. So, yeah, that one's bad, but not terrible.
Yeah, but filters are white. The color difference is going to kind of tell you when it's time to go. This isn't the worst, but it's time to change.
All right, so next, after we do kind of our inside basic check, the thermostat and split check also helps us know, okay, we have power to our air handler, our thermostat operates, our temperature probes are reading correctly. So now we're gonna go do our check outside at the condenser. I think we're gonna try to do this all in one cut. So Luke's gonna close the filter grill here, and then we're gonna take a left and head outside to the condenser.
So
oh yeah, and we've already set up our ladder for the access. Homeowner showed us where the air handler is, so we know we'll be coming back there after we go to our condenser. The condenser check, we're basically going to check all the electrical components, check the cleanliness of the system. We're going to take our readings on amps, volts, etc. Check our microfarads on our capacitor, look for any wear and tear, check the disconnect for, make sure the wires are tight, make sure the disconnect's not warped. We end up finding that a lot on our tune-ups. So here we've got a train. I believe this is a split heat pump. So this house doesn't have gas. We won't be seeing a furnace in the attic. We're gonna have a heat pump condenser, and then in the attic, 240 volt air handler with an evaporator coil. Anything jumping out at you, Luke, when you're walking up on a condenser like this?
Well, for starters, we can tell the fan motor's been replaced. Somewhat recently, this is an aftermarket, we call a rescue motor. This is what we put in on those on-demand emergency calls. Because people's air conditioning gave out, it's 115, they need air as soon as possible. This is what we put in. Ideally with maintenance, we're gonna find what's wrong with your unit before it breaks down and recommend you replace the fan motor before it fails so that you don't have those days of no cooling. And those manufacturer original parts are gonna last longer than these rescue motors. So in the long run, by having us come out and also doing the recommended repairs, you're going to save yourself money in the long run.
Nice. Yeah, so Luke's got his voltmeter, his basic tools right there. All you need on these tune-ups to start is your basic hand tools, multimeter to be able to check amps, volts, and microfarads, your temperature probes inside, and then outside, I don't know if we're going to get to this on this video, but check-in refrigerant, where you check your high side or discharge pressure, your low side or suction pressure, and then we check our superheat, our subcool, and then all of our tune-ups will include a condenser coil rinse. You want to rinse these things down multiple times a year, and we're definitely going to do one of those on each tune-up. So right now you'll notice he's checking operating amps and volts. This system's running. You know, probably not going to come up with anything. Looks like that capacitor's been replaced as well. Luke did get the JobLink meter so we can track amps and volts in real live time through the app on his phone. Now this home has a weird like sprinkler system on the condenser. We're not going to do anything about it. Some homeowners get sold on these things and we're not going to try to talk them out of it, but it's definitely not something that we install. I think it's to just keep your head pressure down in the summer. Just to avoid questions on that, that's why I'm pointing that out. It's not something we do, but technically it will let your system run a little more efficiently in the summer, but it's not something that we hook up
Corrode your
ourselves.
coil though.